So g'day folks, welcome to another PTP Fishing, and I'm going to try and do something I guess a little different in this video. So I just want to give you my take on brim fishing with lures. So as you would have seen from a lot of my saltwater videos of late, the brim fishing's been pretty good. It is that time of the year. The brim are definitely in that sort of spawning mode, so they're in good condition, they're in abundance, and they're a lot of fun to catch on lures. And hopefully today I can give you a bit of an insight as to what I look for, what I use, why I use it, so you can maybe go out and do it yourself. So hope you enjoy the video. Welcome to another PTP Fishing. All right, we may as well start with the information straight off the bat. So one of the things with brim and lures, and particularly soft plastic lures, is it generally relates to either natural structure like you see here, man-made structure, boat hulls, boat ramps, anything that breaks up the flow of the water, gives the bait fish somewhere to hide, and with that concentrates the predators, in our case today the brim hopefully, into certain areas. So breaks up the flow, somewhere for the predators to hunt, and it's also obviously the predators will hunt in the areas where the bait fish and everything concentrates. So start at the mouth of the drain over there to begin with, and like any fishing with plastics, it's all about getting the plastic to the bottom, and I call this the brim shake. So all you're really doing is giving each of these areas, just running that plastic in there. There's quite a bit of flow at the moment, so I may need to go up a jig head size, but at the moment I've got a 1/8 jig head and a small paddle tail soft plastic on. The thing with this structure is I'm not going to fish everywhere. I'm not going to put 10 casts in everywhere. Ultimately, if there are fish here, you'll find them pretty quickly. So you know, it's a matter of a couple of good casts, trying to get those casts into the right places. Ooh. Yeah, and if Mr. Brim's there, you'll know about it pretty quickly, I would have thought. Alrighty, anything at the boat ramp? Ooh. Ooh. Gotcha. There we go. Feels alright too. So that's pretty much brim fishing 101 what I just did there. Oh, lovely brim. I haven't even got my net ready. It's not very clever of me, is it? Is first brim of the day into the net. That's how easy it can be. If you throw in the right place, get your lure in there and just shake it out of there, Mr. Brim comes along. There's fish number one. Stops curling up. So 29 tip, just under 270 fork. Nice way to start. Pop him in there. Quickly show you this plastic. So this is what I'm using. So that's a Z-Man Slim Swims 2.5 in the motor oil colour. Now there is a multitude of paddle tail plastics that will work. You've seen me use Nike plastics in the past. Obviously the Crush City, the Suspect, is a great new one that's in there, but a small paddle tail or a small curly tail plastic, anywhere from sort of a 1/20th to a 1/6 jig head, cast into those little areas with that break the current up, break the flow of the water, somewhere where the bait fish would like to hide. It's generally that concentrates the predators, or concentrates the bait, and then the predators come in to eat them. So pop that in there, let it sink to the bottom, give it a few shakes, and hopefully Bream comes and grabs it. So give that a few more goes, because the area that I'm in now is very, very suitable to do this type of fishing. And then as I go along, we'll change it up and I'll show you a few other things as well. But yeah, can't go past a little sort of 2.5, 3 inch paddle tail soft plastic. So generally the hardest part with any of this sort of plastic fishing is, it always seems to be unlikely that you pick up another fish in the same area. It's like the other guys realise what you're trying to do. Oh, there's a bite. Oh. I just need to move my boat back down a little bit, because I think I pulled it away from the structure. And that meant the fish didn't commit to it properly. Just throw it to that end, let it sink down under the pontoon. At the moment, the current's doing all the work for me. Oh. I have no idea whether the camera will pick that up or not, but as you can see, that Bream grabbed that plastic, dove down, rubbed me off on the pontoon, and that you're only using light leaders, so this is only, I think, 4-pound leader. Makes it a little bit tough when there's things that can cut you off, but that's half the fun. You need the lighter leader to, I guess, to get these fish to bite. You won't re-rig, try again. Oh, wanted to eat it. Gotcha this time. That doesn't feel like a Bream. What is that? Oh no! How cute is that? Little baby mulloway. In you come, buddy. That's a bonus. There he is. That is the smallest mulloway I've ever seen, but if you have a look at the back of it, it's obviously had a little bit of a hard life. Something grabbed it, tried to eat it. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get that plastic out of its mouth. Quick tag in it, let it go, see what else is under this pontoon. So folks, I had every intention of doing this on the water, but as you can imagine, when you're on the water and the fish are biting, do you talk to the camera like I am now, and most probably miss some information? Or do you do this when you get home and when you've got a bit more time to think about it and to go through it a bit more thoroughly? So I thought it was an opportune time in the video to take you through the plastics that I've been using for Bream. And as I've mentioned in the video already, generally I'm fishing between a 2.5 and a 3 inch paddle tail or curly tail soft plastic. Now obviously there is a plethora of soft plastics out in the market these days. Everything from the super stretchy ones, like the Z-Man that I was talking about when I was on the water, so you've got things like the Slim Swim. They do obviously a couple of versions of a curly tail. Super stretchy, super durable, a little tougher to rig, but once they're rigged, you can most probably use the same plastic all day if you wanted to. You've got other options. Daiwa does Bait Junkie, same sort of thing. You've got the minnow here, that's a 2.5. You've got the curly tail and the grub. Again, we'll work a treat on those. The latest one out there that I've been using is obviously the Crush City, the Suspect. Again, great plastic, very durable, in the right profile. The tail, whether it be a paddle tail or a curly tail, moves really easily. You then go into the plastics that are, I guess, less durable, which means you may have to rig you know, depending on the fish, you may get one fish on a plastic, or you may get 10 fish on a plastic, you don't know. But, you know, the squidgies fall into that. You know, the squidgy wriggler has been around as most probably one of the original plastics out there, and they still catch lots and lots of fish. I've been pushing these Nike plastics, so that's called a wobble shad. Again, great little paddle tail, great little finesse profile. It takes nothing for that tail to move. Heavily salt infused, so the fish come and grab it and they get this explosion of salt and it gets them all excited, and it tends to keep them eating your plastic for a little bit longer, which means you've got a bit more time to hook them. All of those will work a treat. I didn't mention it on the water, but the other option I had, and I do catch a few fish on this a little bit later into it. So that's a Nike Maccabee, I'll call it. It's a slightly longer plastic, but it's a very, I'll get one of these out of the packet. It's a very long, slender finesse profile. And the beauty of that is the same thing as if your plastic's sitting on the bottom, as it's doing there, it just wobbles away. And particularly when you're fishing that broken bottom, the bottom that's very uneven, where you've got undulation and dips and everything else, that'll sit there at the bottom of it, waving, just waiting for something to come along and eat it. So when it comes to soft plastic choice, I mean, it's your choice whether you want to go into the more durable ones. And like I said, they are a tad harder to rig. But once you've got them rigged nice and straight, and once you've got them on the jig head, like I said, you can most probably fish with one plastic pretty much all day if you're lucky enough that the fish don't bite you off or you don't get broken off at any point in time. I think keep it simple when it comes to the soft plastics you're using. A little curl tail grub, a little paddle tail plastic, 2.5 to 3 inches, I said, or keep them finesse. So the little shad that's there, the Maccabee, it's very finesse. It maintains that profile, so you really want that small profile, because you're imitating bait fish, you're imitating those things that may fall off the natural structure or get washed off that natural structure or washed off that boat ramp or off that pontoon or off that boat hull. So they're the plastics I use. There's plenty of others out there. You know, people are using imitation prawns, they're using imitation crustaceans, they're using crabs, they're using all of those things, but I try and keep it as simple as I can. And they're the plastics that I use. Now let's get back out on the water. Let's see if this pontoon's got something on it as well. So well up current and let that plastic drift in underneath it. Ooh, there we go, fish straight away on that leading edge where the last one was as well. Doesn't feel like it's a very big fish, this one, but that's okay. Oh, it's a flathead, that's why. So the one thing that you will find is flathead will eat these lures too. I mean, you're always better off starting your day targeting a particular species, and then anything else that comes along is a bit of a bonus, but that's quite a reasonable flathead. Because all of this structure attracts other predators as well, and it's not a huge flathead, 42 centimetres. But the one thing I've learned about flathead is they'll eat big lures and they'll eat small lures as well. Anyway, we'll let that guy go. See you later. Yes, my little Bream session's turned into a bit of a mixed bag session, but it's only early. I've only been here about 15 minutes, so 3 species in the first 15. Not bad going. Things like poles and other structure in the middle of the nowhere is always worth a cast at as well. There's fish of some sort. What do we got there? Oh. So I threw a speculator out into the middle, the heavier plastic, or a heavier jig head and a bigger plastic, and there's the target species. Not a big fish, but he's eaten quite a decent sized plastic. That's alright. So I just realised I wasn't filming. And check that out. That's quite a decent whiting. That'd be, I reckon, 24, 25 centimetre whiting on that same little plastic. Very happy with that. Yep. There we go. So this is the target species. He's fighting a bit like a bream, definitely a bream. Again, as you can see there, lovely piece of structure up on the bank there. You got to assume that that comes out into the water. And they're the sort of zones that these bream love. He's a reasonable one too. I'm in this net. When you're talking about the bream are in good condition at the moment, look at the belly on that fella there. It's not overly big, but he's certainly round. He definitely ate my plastic too. That's well in there. So there he is, 275, 255 forker. Thanks for playing. Boom. There's another something. That's not a bream, I don't believe. Like I said, this structure concentrates the food, concentrates the fish. And there you go, there was a flathead as well as a bream in there. He's quite a reasonable flathead too. Get in there. Hey. Gotcha. Nice little speculator cast fish. Ooh, come on. Just gonna throw a tag in you. Just going to throw a tag in you. Feels like a better fish. Ooh. Hello. Hello. That feels like a much better fish. Get out from under that boat. Come and show yourself. And he's just hooked on the side of his face a little bit, so he's coming up a little bit strangely. Oh, he's wrapped up now. Don't you break my leader. Get up in there. So there it is, 280, 260. Definitely a slightly better quality fish. Thanks, buddy. See ya. Always nice when you see something you think might work. You give it a go when it works. Yes, definitely deeper here, and I'm just letting that get to the bottom, and rather than that shake, shake, shake retrieve, which will most probably get stuck on the bottom, it's just little hops. Oh, there was another bite. Yeah, you're just hoping that there's a bream in the depressions that are out there. Oh, there was another bite. And he decides that he wants to eat my plastic. There he is. Oh, didn't eat it properly. What's going on here? Oh, he did eat it properly. He was just coming to me. Wowee. Oh, here we go. Now we've finally got one half decent size. Didn't even know I hooked this guy. Come on, buddy, just come up to the net. Wow, that's a lovely fish. Come on. In you come. Thank you. So as I was going along on the electric motor, I just noticed quite a little bit of up and down in the slightly deeper water. So when I say slightly deeper, it's most probably 6-7 foot deep. So I thought, oh well, I'll hedge my bets, throw a slightly bigger plastic and a 1/4 ounce jig head. So that's a Noiki Maccabee, I don't know how to say that. I'll have to ask the boys next time I see them. On a 1/4 ounce jig head. I thought it was a much bigger fish, but all he did was wrap the line around his gill plate. But just shows you, anytime you notice something on the sounder, some quite abrupt undulation. Bream loves sitting in the eddies behind that undulation, and that's quite a nice fish. Not the biggest for the day, but they're getting bigger compared to a couple of the smaller ones I got a little earlier. Surprised, I thought that fish was bigger than that. Still a beautiful fish. Another 275, 280 sort of tipper. See you, buddy. So my structure-based bite with the plastics is pretty much done and dusted. I think there's now, the tide's run out and it's getting too low, so the depth of water around that structure is there's just not enough there to sustain the fish. So decided to go and throw a few hard bodies around. Put my favourite lure on first up, which is a Xeric Bulldog crank. I'll take you through a lot more of the lures and everything else once I get a few fish, but certainly this type of fishing, throwing crankbaits for them, has been highly successful for me and for Aaron and for Nicholas over the last month or so. So I'm really looking forward to doing this, and I've picked up some really nice fish doing it as well. So time to stop talking to the camera, throw this thing out there, see what wants to hook up. The bottom feels absolutely perfect here. Just the bites that I'm getting are tentative. There we go. That was a more committed bite, wasn't it? Hard body had to work here. Had to work here. I think this is quite a reasonable fish too. With the displacement back there. He's a bit angry, this guy. Oh. No, you can't see this one yet, folks, but this is actually a really nice fish. Like a really nice fish. This one's going to be worth showing you if I can get it in. Oh, come on, buddy. Let's come up to the net. I want to show you to the camera. Oh, wow. Come on. Eric. Oh. Come on. Doesn't want to give up. There he comes. No, still hasn't. Come on. Come on, up you come. There we go. That's what we wanted. That is actually a big bream. And this is why I've been loving cranking for bream lately. So there's that Zerich Bulldog crank. And that would be easily, I'd say, a 30 forker, 32 tipper, somewhere around there. He just absolutely walled it, and as you see, they use the current to their advantage. They're just in here in this shallow water, sitting in behind the little rocks, sitting in the depressions. They're just waiting for something to swim past, and thankfully that was my Bulldog crank. So great little lures, most probably my favourite sort of bream crankbait. But what this does now is give me an excuse to try a few others, show you what other options are out there. But that one there is an absolute ripper. So there you are. It is an absolute ripper. So 350 tip, 315 fork. Stoked with that fish, absolutely stoked. So this seems an appropriate time to jump into this video and show you some of the hard bodies I love using. And I guess why they're popular out there. So I've already shown you this just then. So that's a Zerich Bulldog crank. They're a reasonably deep running sort of lure. And as I've said in a number of videos before, and I most probably will mention it while I'm on the water as well, is the beauty of these lures and this style of lures, you want them to be able to wobble along the bottom, tap the bottom, feel the bottom, kick up a bit of mud, kick up a bit of sand, attract the fish to the lure. What you'll notice with a lot of very popular bream lures is they're that style of shape, and I guess the original hard body lure that everybody loved fishing with was the Jackal Chubby. I know I've most probably got half a dozen colours in my box. Brown Suji shrimp's most probably the one that everybody goes to. And I think that was the shape that a lot of people became very comfortable with. You know, you've got the Fat Jack from Rapala, again, similar shape, similar running depth. I've got inline signals on that because the bass also love eating these guys as well. The PML Finesse crank runs slightly shallower, but the beauty of these is the finesse cranks. The paint schemes on these and the UV that Dan uses in them is magnificent. You're just about to see me run these as well. So these are the Atomic Crank 38. Hadn't used them before this video or before I was filming for this video. Really, really nice. They feel really good in the water. And again, they have that great action of bubbling along the bottom, and they just had the right feel right from the word go. I think the other thing that I want to mention here now is, having fished with Aaron quite a bit, Aaron prefers a slightly longer lure, a bigger profile, but a narrower profile. And he uses these Daiwa Spike 48s, either in the medium running, which I think is that one, and the extra deep. So either or, but the body's quite narrow in profile, certainly a different look to all of the other ones that I've already shown you there. So, but he smashes the fish on those, which made me think, what other lures do I have in that style that may work? And then of course, the Duo Spearhead Ryukyu. So what you've seen me catching a lot of trout on in the 50mm catches brim and catches plenty of brim. Caught some absolute cracking fish with this with Aaron on the last trip out. And again, not surprisingly, with all the tech that goes into these Duo lures, they work a treat as well. The other option that I really wasn't aware that was out there, you know, in a sort of an in-between, it's sort of a little bit fat, but it's still narrow, still long, is the Atomic Bream Shad 40. So 40mm long. Again, that sort of medium to deep diver. Some great colours in it. There's some really cool colours in this Atomic range. So they're another great option as well. Haven't swum those as yet. You'll most probably see these in a future video. But yes, they seem like a pretty good option as well. The last thing I want to mention, and it goes with not only the hard body lures, but also with the soft plastic lures, is fishing scent for brim. Really, really works. I got introduced to this many, many years ago, which is obviously the Shimano, the S Factor. Brim love it. You'll see this tub laying around in the boat all the time in my videos. And I basically mix up sack scents. I go through two different types. Generally the wasabi, and I think there's another one that's gold something or other. It's got a little bit of fleck, a little bit of flake in it. Sticks to the lures really well. I guess removes some of that human scent off of it, leaves a trail of, I guess, what smells like food to the fish. And I think at times it can make a really big difference into how long they grab your plastic for, or whether they come and eat your hard body lures. So don't be afraid to put a little bit of scent on your lures as you're going out there. Anyway, that's enough of me interrupting the video at the moment. Let's get back to the action. I've popped a new lure on. So that's an Atomic 38 crank deep. I think it is. These Atomic cranks, particularly the 38 in the deep and the shallow, very popular with brim anglers. Definitely catch their fair share of fish. So never actually used one before today, so be interesting to see how this goes. Certainly feels good in the water, which is what it's all about. It's bouncing nicely over the bottom, which is exactly what you want. I've mentioned that in previous videos, is you really want your lure sort of bobbling and feeling the bottom every now and again, because when it taps the bottom it sort of makes that little bit of noise, bit of commotion that attracts the fish to it. It certainly feels like it'll catch a fish. Just got to put it in front of the fish's nose. One more cast just in case. Ooh, that was a different bite. It's because it was, oh, look at the size of this flatty. Oh, that's not what I expected to get just there. Oh, I'm in trouble here, folks, because it's only a very light leader. That's a big flathead. Hopefully he doesn't play up too much and he just comes straight into the net. Wishful thinking, I think. Oh, I missed the flathead. Oh, no. Wow. Right, a lot of concentrating going on in the boat at the moment. Oh, that's a good flathead. Wow. Tell you what, that wanting to have one more cast definitely was worth doing, wasn't it? This is the importance, I think, of these fishing rods. So most of the rods I use are all fast taper. So that means that the rod does a lot of absorbing of these lunges. So as much as you can hear the drag going and everything else, oh, that's a good fish. The rod absorbs a lot of that head shaking, and that way I can have my drag slightly tighter. Just come into this net, buddy. Oh, yes. That's a cracker of a flathead. I have to say, that's not what I was expecting to get there, but that's a lovely flathead. And there's that atomic 38 crank in the deep. Not sure what colour that is, but I'll throw it up around me on the screen somewhere. But that'd be a 52, 53 centimetre flathead. Just grabbed it right at the boat, pretty much underneath the boat at the end of the retrieve. So lovely, lovely fish. And it just shows you, when you are doing this cranking for the bream over this sort of rubbly sort of ground, there's every chance you pick one of these guys up as well. So very, very cool. And that's my first ever fish on one of these atomic cranks. Absolute cracker. So that was definitely one of those occasions where I'm glad I had one more cast. As you can see, I've pretty much run out tide now, so I will change locations, go to somewhere where I believe will be better for the run-in tide. The area I'm in here, as you can see, it's getting very, very shallow. And that fish that I caught grabbed it about right there. So may well have followed it all the way to there and then just said it's not getting away and whacked it. All right, one more cast here, and then, like I said, I think I'll move locations, go somewhere that's a little more suited to an incoming tide. So before I move locations, I figured that was the perfect time for me to interrupt this video once more and take you through, I guess, the rod options and everything else. I guess for me, as far as the rods go, there's not much point using what I've got, because many, many years ago I was lucky enough to be sponsored by Angler Rods, and I'm still using their rods. It's definitely a case of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Really like these rods, and while they're surviving, I will continue to use them because they certainly suit the way I fish and what I like to do. The one thing I mentioned in the video was about tapers of rods, and I had a good chat to Steve Morgan, my boss at Fishing Monthly. Obviously, he's a very, very good bream angler. His preference for rods, basically he likes a fast taper rod like I do with his soft plastics fishing, but what he calls a medium or a more parabolic curve for his hard body lures. So certainly the Angler rods fit into the fast taper situation. Before I touch on anything else, reel size. A lot of people ask me about reel size. I prefer the 1000 size reels for any of my light or finesse applications. So it just means the line comes off the reel that little bit easier. You're not really pushing your cast to get any distance and everything else. And as soon as I go anything from 1/4 ounce up, I'll increase the size of the reel, because you want to be able to control the line coming off the reel a little bit more. With a slightly bigger spool size, you're able to do that. So yeah, so 7-foot rod, fast taper, 1000 size reel. Certainly with the soft plastics fishing, it's generally 4-pound braid, either a 4 or a 6-pound leader. If I am fishing some gnarlier water, you can go up to 8-pound, but certainly you do need lighter leaders to cover off on the fishing. As far as the throwing hard bodies go, slightly longer rod helps. Just gives you that little bit more flick of the tip, hence why I like the fast taper rod. When I say fast taper rod, this butt section here remains fairly firm, so all the power comes through the butt, and then a lot of the shock absorption, ability to cast lures, ability to absorb what the fish is doing in the water is all done by the tip of the rod. The standard taper, or what Steve likes for his hard bodies, which this Phoenix rod isn't, it has more of a parabolic curve. So rather than a fast taper rod bending from up here, more parabolic curve mostly bends from here. So a lot more of the rod is doing that shock absorption, which I guess when you're using small hooks and very light lines, it definitely can make a difference. I did ask Steve about the rods that he enjoys using, and he's really enjoying using the Daiwa in-feet range of rods. They sort of come in all sorts of price points, but he mentioned to me, and I'll read it rather than try and remember it. So the S range, which was sort of the entry level range, he said there's a light and an ultralight, 7 foot, 7'1" from memory. And then if you do have a little bit more money to spend, and it's always worth spending that little bit of extra money, because obviously the components, etc., get better and better as you go up in the range. The EX range in the light and the ultralight as well. And he says he's predominantly using those at the moment, and it is because the light has a fast taper and the ultralight has a regular taper. So it gives him the two things that he really wants when he's either using plastics or hard body lures. So there's a little bit of an insight into the rods. The one thing I do want to say is a lot of the gear that I've picked up or that I use, or when I go somewhere to go and buy gear, I go to Tackle World Lawton. I actually caught up with Ryan at the Lure Expo, had a really good chat to him, and yeah, like he's absolutely stoked with how the shop's going over there. Good shop. The guys in there really know their stuff, and they can certainly point you in the right direction. So if you're looking to pick up some of this gear, I can definitely recommend Tackle World Lawton. Anyway, that's enough of me chatting to you like this. Hope you're enjoying the video, and if you've got this far, thank you very much. Let's get back to the action. There we go, there's a fish. So there we are. First fish on that atomic crank, the 38. Only a little guy, but as I said before, I've run out of tide now. So any fish you get now when there is no flow, that sort of ebb between the incoming and the outgoing tides and all that sort of stuff is a bonus. And that's the beauty of throwing hard body lures for these Bream, is you're actively fishing an area and then they come and grab it like that one did. Anyway, this one will get a tag, let go, and then I'll put a battery in the other camera. Hopefully we pick up a few fish as this tide turns. There's a fish. God, I found the little ones now, haven't I? That was really interesting. Thought I would have a little flick with a much shallower running lure, because the water I'm sitting in is very shallow. And I did that and just didn't feel right. I wasn't tapping the bottom. I wasn't, just didn't feel like I was doing the right thing. So I swapped over. I had another rod with another one of those atomic cranks on it, but in the deep again. First cast in the same spot. Bingo. I'm pretty excited by that. There's another atomic crank 38 in the deep. Very cool looking, sort of bright colour. First cast with it. First Bream on it as well. So just shows you the importance, I think, of your lure touching the bottom or finding the bottom. Particularly with these Bream, I think they love the disturbance. I think it excites them. and certainly if there's more than one fish there, one of them will go and grab it because there's a bit of competition. But yeah, there it is. Pretty stoked with that. So down another solid model, 280, 260 fork. Thank you. See ya. Oh, flathead. Good one too. Holy crap. I'm having fun now. Look at this guy. It's funny, I sort of came up into this area because I thought, because I've caught a few flathead today, I thought I'm half a chance of picking one up in here, because I think they'd be waiting to get up into the shallow areas in behind where I'm fishing. I've been a little bit surprised that I haven't had more bites up in here. I would have thought this would be the staging point for the fish before they head up into the shallows. It's another lovely flathead. Lovely flathead. The joys of playing around with new lures. There it is. That's not a monster flathead. That one would be most probably 41, 42. Definitely wanted that lure. Again, like I said, this whole cranking, there's not a lot of run in the tide at the moment. It is definitely coming in now, but it's not a visual sort of running in tide. And that guy decided to eat my atomic crank lure. Very happy with that. Now, the one question I want to answer now is, I'm fishing 2 to 3 feet of water, no more. Where I'm casting up to is most probably only a foot of water, so I'm really looking to bounce that lure down along where it drops into the deeper water, because I think that's where the fish are going to be there ready to ambush it. So, so far so good. I've got to stop talking to you because I look over there and go, I really want to get up over there casting lures before this tide gets too full. Yes. Feels very flathead-like again. Definitely flathead. Oh, another nice flathead too. Stay on. Stay on. Oh, don't do that. Come on. Stay on. Stay on. Yeah. So, as weird as it sounds, my take on bream fishing, I'm going to finish with a flathead. There's that atomic crank again. 46 centimetre flathead. Great way to finish this session. The tide's well and truly flooding in now, and it's bringing the dirty water with it, which is making the bream very, very hard to find. This guy here will come home for a feed, keep the family happy. Hope you've taken something out of this video. Hopefully you can take some of these tips, some of the lures, some of the gear, go and pick it up and give it a go yourself. If you do, let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to see what people think, how you go with some of this gear. So again, I hope you've enjoyed my take on bream fishing with lures. If you have, don't forget, like, subscribe, help me grow the channel, and I'll catch you next time from PTP Fishing. See ya. See ya.